Right, hello everybody and welcome to the 2023 FANUC UK Open House event. We had a great day yesterday. It was really, really good. We see some familiar faces, but also it was really good to see some new faces as well. So come on in and join us. Right, okay, so and also a big hello to everyone who's watching online as well. So it is ultimately an event where FANUC are trying to raise awareness of automation. And with that being the case, it's also a collaborative event. So I don't know if you've already walked around yet, but if you do head on round, there's exhibitors and system partners next door. So after we've done the discussions and the debates today, feel free to head on round there. It's a place to network and a place to talk with industry, ultimately. If you want to see the whole schedule as well, then just take a look at FANUC's website, and they've got the whole schedule on there. Something I didn't mention yesterday, and it was really, really popular, is they're doing some taster sessions in here after lunch. So if you want to get on a robot or you want to play with the robot, experiment it, get hands on, have a go yourself. If you're confident enough. I'm seeing some smiles in the middle around here, so maybe some people will get involved in some of the robots as well. So that's happening with the taster session a little bit later on. Really good yesterday. We had some debates and they were tackling some issues head on. So the myths about automation, that was something they tackled. So breaking the myths, the barriers to automation. It was a really good session because it's a debate and everyone loves a bit of a heated discussion, but in a positive way to drive industry forwards. It was a really successful day. So yeah, hello again to everyone who's watching online. So we're on LinkedIn, we're on YouTube, we're on MTDCNC and FANUC website and the app as well. It is interactive. I know Tom's going to mention this in a few moments' time. If you're party to the debate, don't feel like you're not part of it. You can ask questions if you're watching online. We've got all the text, so if you're watching online, you can watch it. We can get all the questions in on the screens. So you are equally as much a part of this as everybody is here on the floor. All right, okay, enough from me. If you need to know anything about today, you've got all the staff members dotted around and you can head to the FANUC website. But I'd like to welcome on stage Tom Boucher from FANUC.
Good morning, everybody. It's like panto season. Come on, you've all been here before. Everybody online's watching this, everybody here. So good morning, everybody. Perfect. Absolutely delighted to welcome you here to day 2 of the FANUC 2023 Open House. And on behalf of everybody at FANUC UK, really, I want to extend a really heartfelt, warm welcome to all of you. I promised myself this week that I was going to stick to the script. And I think yesterday I spent the first 10 minutes just totally off script. But it was hard to avoid it yesterday with Cameroon and Farage and everything else in the news. It was like waking up in 2015. The 2023 version of me is much more able to stick to script. So we're going to stick to 2023 today, and I am going to stick to the script. Yesterday we had over 280 visitors. We had great debate, we had great presentations, and this was mostly down to the visitors. You are key to making this happen. It's your engagement, as Lindsay says, that sparks the debate, that makes us think of other things, makes us go in different directions. So please, please, please join in. The team here at FANUC and the 35 different exhibitors that we have on site here, so they give me a clicker as well. I always forget to use one of them. It's either forget to speak or forget to push. They've prepared a programme of events, diverse array of exhibits, demonstrations, presentations that showcase the cutting-edge technologies that have changed the boundaries of what we all think is possible. And they're going to provide an insight into our operations, our commitment to quality and innovation, and how we can continue to add value to your businesses. From collaborative robots that work alongside humans to specialised machines that are working to parameters that are just mind-blowing, the things that they can produce on some of these machines. This event will really give us a glimpse into what's possible in the future, in the immediate future and in the slightly longer-term future of manufacturing. In my opinion, the event serves multiple purposes. It's a platform for industry leaders, experts and enthusiasts to meet, exchange knowledge, as well as discuss and explore future possibilities. It's also a catalyst for collaboration, exchange of ideas, foster partnerships and ignite innovation. And all of that happened yesterday and will happen again today. but it is based on all of us making this happen. It's through these collective efforts that we can keep pushing the boundaries of what we thought is possible and shape an intelligent and sustainable future.
Where there's automation, helping you manufacture high-quality products with high precision, reliably, every day. Giving you the gift of versatility by innovating the automation of your industry. There's FANUC, the factory automation company. Where there are values, there is quality, following the Japanese philosophy of our mother company. Strict preciseness, enabling the highest possible quality of our products. Transparency, keeping our customers close and well informed. Where there's ambition, there's improvement. Developing the suitable product for every use case. Simplifying your work by constantly innovating our high-tech solutions. Ensuring fast and reliable manufacturing to minimize downtimes. Where there's reliability, there's efficiency. We are always there for you, wherever you are, 24/7. Providing the best customer service with lifetime support for as long as our products are in use. Where there's education, there's growth. Experience the FANUC Academy. Here you can learn the basics or excel. Where there's innovation, there's opportunity. We keep pioneering the market by incorporating the latest technological advances into our services and solutions. Where there's sustainability, there's our future. Reducing our carbon footprint and saving resources worldwide. Constantly improving the energy efficiency and durability of our products to help you reduce your carbon emissions. Where there's passion, there are people. Investing in the future generations to always stay on top. Taking care of our people as they take care of our company. Because without them, FANUC wouldn't exist. They help your business succeed with automation. Where there's automation, there's FANUC.
I think today's automation has really revolutionised the way we think about manufacturing, about productivity and about efficiency. It's not only improved productivity, but it's improved safety, precision, versatility. It's bringing everything we need to the party. Beyond the fantastic displays on show, it's important we recognise and discuss the impact it's had on society as a whole. It's not only created jobs, but it's raising the skill set needed in the workforce. And we need to make sure that we are saying that it is in creating jobs. It does create jobs. The 5 broad areas being called to be addressed generally within UK manufacturing are skills, infrastructure, finance, innovation and the business environment. All of them are going to be getting covered today and over these 3 days, maybe in different bits, but they are all going to be the broad topics we're talking about. I just wanted to cover a little bit on skills first of all.
I'm feeling very nervous and also very excited at the same time.
You need to complete all the tasks in the prescribed timing, so it was quite pressured.
It helps us to prepare us for the upcoming challenges in our life.
We are the global partner of WorldSkills for the robot competition. We hope that the people are more motivated to work on robots, gain more knowledge, and then use it in the practical world.
Upskilling is an area that I'm really passionate about. As a former apprentice, I really do understand the benefits that technical education can bring and the opportunities it can bring to you. FANUC are proud sponsors of the Industrial Robot event at WorldSkills, and over the 3 days, yesterday, today and tomorrow, we have 5 teams in the end of the workshop here competing for the UK, to represent the UK in the next cycle at the WorldSkills. We've also got 3 teams outside the door here representing the UK, 2 other countries, in the WorldSkills final this year. They're here practicing for the WorldSkills event that is going to take place. So please, if you see them about, they are all very, very dedicated and looking at what they're doing. But if you see them about, please give them a bit of encouragement, give them a bit of advice, interact with them, because it really is important. It's also important to remember that while industrial automation offers significant benefits, it may introduce some challenges. Initial investment costs, skilled technicians or engineers, potential job displacement. However, when it's implemented thoughtfully and with proper planning, the benefits of industrial automation will definitely outweigh the challenges. Your feedback and insights to us are invaluable, as they help us to improve and grow. We're here not just to talk, we are here to listen as well. We really are here to listen. I heard on the radio the other day, and I don't know who said it or whatever, but it was those who talk don't know, those who know don't talk. I kind of understand what he's saying, but what I'm taking it from here is that it's a two-way street. We need to listen to you as much as we need to talk. This isn't just a talk. Participate fully. When the discussions are going on, there is people around here, as Lindsay said, with microphones. Put your hand up, somebody bring a microphone to you so the people in the room here and the people online can hear. They're going to join in online as well, so please, just take part into it. I don't want to get political here today, but I'm probably going to. I feel while I have this platform, I need to say a few things. I said them yesterday, and I want to say them again today. I'm here as a supplier of industrial equipment and to support our UK manufacturers. That's my job, that's my role, that's what I'm here for. My plea here to you guys and to the wider audience, those online and everybody listening, is that we need an industrial strategy. We need to involve the manufacturers, the whole spectrum of OEMs, tech startups, AI, everybody. The recent Make UK paper on industrial strategy highlighted several startling findings, and it's a good read. I'm only going to comment on a few here just to get the debate going. I think, yes I am. 99% of manufacturers believe the UK should have an industrial strategy. I fully agree, we don't have one. I believe we're one of the few major economies without an industrial strategy. The current government believe that all of their, or some of their diverse policies make up an industrial strategy. I think it's not a joined up, coherent industrial strategy. I mean, just to be clear, the definition of strategy is a plan of action designed to achieve an overall aim. We don't have it. Whichever way you look at it, we don't have it. We have a lot of different policies, we have a lot of stuff going on, we don't have a strategy. To make sure it's not party political, 56% of firms don't feel like there's ever been a robust industrial strategy for the UK. And I think that's probably true, certainly in our lifetime, my lifetime. Maybe they had an industrial strategy in Victorian times, but we don't have one now, we haven't had one for a long time. I think it's impossible to refute some of this stuff that people are calling. The Make UK report studied a lot of firms, asked a lot of people, and came up with the decision, or with the consensus of opinion. So I think it's hard. Make UK are calling for a Royal Commission on Industrial Strategy. Now, I don't know if that's the best way forward, but what I do fully agree with is it needs to have full cross-party consensus. We can't keep the current 5-year parliamentary cycle dictating industrial direction. We don't have a strategy, we might have a direction. We can't keep that 5-year cycle going. We have to have a long-term strategy that our politicians don't interfere with. Not that I'm getting political again, any of them. We need it, that they come in, that strategy is set and going forward. 87% of companies say an industrial strategy would give their business a long-term vision, and 75% of manufacturers say an industrial strategy would offer a stable business environment. You can't argue with it. Business has to have certainty. Your business has to have certainty. We have to have certainty. And what we don't have at the moment is certainty. We can't afford to keep having the uncertainty we've had for decades. We're being left behind. I think I spoke yesterday about the UK's ability to punch above its weight, to be able to do everything it needs to do. We've got a long, proud tradition of punching above our weight. So it's not about what we're doing, it's about our total inability to create a strategy. We need our government to help create this strategy. The US have got one, Biden's whatever, Inflation Reduction Act. The EU have got their green stuff going on, they've got a strategy that's going on. We had our super tax deduction for a little bit of time, which was fantastic. But it wasn't long term, it wasn't going to continue. It needs to be longer term. Hopefully he's going to bring it back and it will be longer term. But it needs to be not party political. This needs to be for the good of UK PLC. Einstein said, we cannot solve problems with the kind of thinking we employed when we came up with them. And that's what we're doing. We're still trying to use the same stuff just to overcome the same stuff to change it. We're not going to do it. So my plea to Westminster is let's get all the political parties, local government, metro mayors. We had Andy Street here yesterday and I kept on at him about it as well. Educational facilities, manufacturers, OEMs, all of the stakeholders. We need to get together and really generate a strategy. I'd also ask you, if you have access to any of these decision makers, your local MPs, the government, metro mayors, anybody, really get them to park self-interest and let's get the UK self-interest right. Let's get the UK moving where we need it to go. Once again, I'd like to express my appreciation for choosing to spend the time with us and for listening to me for 10 minutes. Hopefully it will pick up a bit from here. The team here are committed to making your day enjoyable, interesting, answer any questions. I hope to meet some of you walking around today. Yesterday I had some great discussions with people. So if you see me walking around, you've got anything to say, you agree with me, you disagree with me, you'd like to give me another perspective, anything, just stop me. I'm here to listen. I really do want to learn. So please join in with us. Let's all embrace the exciting future that lies ahead and make the most out of what we got. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Right, I'd like to welcome up on stage Oliver Selby. Now, yesterday we talked a lot about cost and total cost of robotics and machines. And so what Oliver is going to talk about is total cost of ownership, because it's not just the product itself, it's the training, it's the upkeep, it's the longevity, kind of tackling issues head on. So please, Oliver, welcome to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce one of those new thinking ideas that Tom spoke about there. So I'm sure that many of you will understand the term of total cost of ownership. Yeah, as Lindsay kindly pointed out, some of the giveaways there, sort of the other things, training, the maintenance, that sort of thing, all comes into the total cost of ownership. I guess some of you would like to know why I, as head of sales, would like to talk about this. Well, it's simple, really. I want UK manufacturing, regardless of stakeholder, technician, engineer, manager, or the dreaded purchasing person, to think about the value of a new piece of equipment. To the business as a whole, what value that piece of equipment brings. I will try and add some insight into why our European and global competition are adopting automation quicker than we are. Understand why their models are different, what they're actually doing that is different to us. I'll explore what the FANUC, and try to explain what the FANUC stance is on this, and why TCO is so important. So I'll start by putting something to you. When evaluating a piece of capital equipment and the purchase of that, should we be asking something different? So rather than how long will it be until I recover that investment, is it worth basing that decision on the long-term business strategy? You know, we know that pieces of equipment last longer than the 2-year payback that we look for here in the UK. What do they offer up as value beyond that first 2 years? It's all about short-term, long-term thinking. And again, that's something different. As Tom mentioned, we need to think about things in a different way. So, return on investment, payback, they're the same thing effectively, yeah? Return on investment is a percentage figure. You apply a time scale to that percentage figure, how long you're going to get your full investment back. It's then a payback, okay? A 2-year payback period, simply put, would be a 50% ROI, okay? It pays back in 2 years. Generally, we see in the UK that most companies are looking for a sub-2-year payback, and that gets really, really tricky, providing industrial equipment, high-value capital equipment with a sub-2-year payback, yeah? Because the value that might be gained out of that equipment may not may not pay back in 2 years. We have to try and look beyond that. Sometimes what happens is that companies look to reduce the cost to make it fit a 2-year payback, and then you don't necessarily get everything that you originally wanted, that you originally put forward in that specification that you gave to that supplier. They're having to cut back to make things fit. We don't want that. My thought is that sometimes the total cost of that piece of equipment over its entire lifetime is overlooked. And generally, when we get to the purchasing stage, the negotiation stage, it's the first thing that is definitely forgotten. It's we need and must hit that payback. So we understand that capital purchase strategy is different in every business, every country or economic region globally. A project's risk profile is different, yeah, depending on what that piece of equipment is. If we take, say, a small SME and a major automotive OEM, the strategy on how they use automation is dramatically different. You know, a typical car manufacturer may look at, say, an 8-year payback, which is a new model that's been brought to market, and a facelift may take production 8 years. Okay, a small SME may win a contract for just 2 years as a subcontract supplier of a piece of equipment. How can they possibly look at automation strategy in the same way when they've only got a 2-year payback or 2-year guaranteed contract for that subcontract work? So it's very, very different. We have to look at it in a very, very certain way. So something I put to you is, can we not think about automation strategy as being a long-term decision? How can we actually look at automation strategy as part of our business strategy going forward? It stands to reason the longer you give yourself to pay off that capital investment, the easier it should be to justify and get through board approval. So the important thing when you're measuring anything is, how do we measure it? Okay, so we talk about automation being very different when we start to measure it, from a simple conveyor that can easily be measured in terms of the value it brings to the business, through to, say, a fully autonomous, unmanned production solution like the Amazon warehouse, as we all see on LinkedIn. There's no level playing field to actually better measure what value looks like in different scenarios. What we can say is that, and to give you some numbers and something you can reflect upon, that we do have a way globally with robotics through various trade bodies like the International Federation of Robotics, and work that's done here in the UK through BARA, the British Automation and Robotics Association, a way of measuring automation or robotics uptake globally. If we just look at robotics, the International Federation of Robotics has been collecting data for a number of different years. That's either been collected through data that's been collected by trade associations. We've actually got the UK Collation Service sat right in front of me in green, which is fantastic. Any questions you can ask her how she collects that data. And she feeds that back into the IFR, the International Federation of Robotics. The challenge we have is, how do we normalise that data globally? And the way it's done is we look at the number of robots deployed in a particular manufacturing nation versus 10,000 manufacturing workers. And that then gives us a bit of more of a level playing field, a way in which we can normalise those figures. Now, unfortunately, the next figures you'll see might not be so great to look at, but I'll try and explain them in the right way. Currently, the UK sits in the top 10 in terms of manufacturing output of manufacturing nations globally. Yeah, I think we've just risen to 8th, overtaking France, which is fantastic. Yeah. What we also see is that robot adoption is nowhere near that. So they are the top 21, I think there is there, nations that deploy robots globally. We see the Republic of Korea, over 1,000 robots per 10,000 workers. 10% is an amazing figure. They're really deploying it at a really high rate of knots. Singapore, next in the line. Closer to home, Germany, 415 robots per 10,000 workers. Now, a lot of those are deployed into automotive, as we know. A really key part of their industrial strategy in Germany is obviously about automotive. You've got some really big manufacturers. We then look at, say, again, closer to home. So you've got Sweden there, you've got Switzerland, you've got Slovenia, Denmark, Netherlands, Italy, Austria. all these European nations that are actually deploying more robots than the UK. World average, 151. If we look at where the UK sits, we sit 25th in that list of nations there. But those two graphs there, they are actually the same graph, but it's the way they're shown in the report that comes back from IFR on two separate pages. We sit well below the national, the world average. 98 robots per 10,000 workers, not so many. What I'd like to show you there, though, are the yellow stars. Those are the nations that sit alongside us in the top 10 manufacturing nations. They have deployed many, many more robots than we have. It makes them more productive, more efficient, and with a long-term future ahead of them. So, you will ask, why not just switch to a different model of investing in capital equipment, in industrial robots, industrial equipment, industrial automation? You know, why can't we just switch? Well, the easy answer is we can. However, from a FANUC point of view, we tend to have a different outlook on the way we want to approach you as the user of the equipment, and the way we want you to try and think about how to invest in your long-term future of your business. If European countries are allowing themselves a longer time to pay back, why shouldn't we? You know, we see that Germany, Sweden, their typical strategies are sitting at around 3 to 5 years in terms of payback. Yeah, we could adopt that. I would hope, though, that the next few slides that I show you make you think slightly differently. So, if we look at the total cost of ownership, we know that a lot of the cost of a piece of equipment that we deploy is actually sat beyond that initial purchase. Between 15 and 25%, is actually beyond, is actually upfront. 75 to 85% of that cost of that equipment is actually sat afterwards. And, well, yeah, there's a few people that are maybe questioning that figure, I don't know. But maybe on different equipment it's different numbers. If we look a little bit closer into what that equipment is going to cost you after you purchase it, you've got obviously that original purchase price there set on the top left. That forms the very first part of your total cost of equipment, or total cost of ownership. We then look at maintenance, training, the downtime that potentially this piece of equipment may have in its lifetime. The cost of that downtime to you may be very different depending on whether you're producing cars at 1 every 55 seconds or whether you're producing widgets that produce 1 an hour. Yeah, it could be very, very different, that downtime. Repairs of that equipment over its lifetime, any upgrades that might be required over that equipment's lifetime. The security, more and more prevalent now, is also making sure that a piece of equipment is secure. It's secure from cyber attack, or that the data that is being generated by that piece of equipment is kept secure and not falling into the wrong hands. The energy usage, not only the actual electricity or the gas that piece of equipment is using, but the other utilities, water, the actual cleaning of that piece of equipment, you know. And also the last thing there, the end of life. How do you dispose of that piece of equipment? Yeah, everything has a cost to recycle. Yeah. But do you need to recycle it in 5 years and buy another? Do you need to recycle in 10, 15, 20 years and buy another? You know, it all depends on the equipment. We can look at those different costs in sort of 3 different ways. Those direct one-time costs, the upfront costs. You can see there the engineering of that piece of equipment. The procurement, the cost to procure has to be taken into account. The equipment itself, installation, shipping, startup assistance, the initial training for your workforce on that piece of equipment. And also the existing equipment that may be in place that you're having to replace, the cost to actually remove that. It doesn't necessarily fall into this piece of equipment's lifetime cost, but it's a cost to your business. Those direct ongoing costs, so the energy or other utility costs that may be there, the operating labour, maintenance and servicing, spare parts, the ongoing training, the upskill type training that you may have to deploy, and the security. Then those indirect ongoing costs that, again, everyone's trying to reduce, unscheduled downtime, the cost to your business in production losses, lead times that may be in place for certain pieces of equipment, or getting service engineer or service staff to your site in the right timing. From a FANUC point of view, those that are in red, and apologies, they're a little bit small and you may not be able to catch them there, but those that are in red, they're things that FANUC, us as the equipment supplier, can affect. Yeah, and we try to, very much so. So the cost of equipment, we try and make ourselves very cost competitive on the initial sale. The installation, shipping, try and make it easy for you. Yeah, making sure we put things in place that make it easy to deploy. Make sure we've got fantastic training facilities, like the one you're sat in now. This is used on a week-in, week-out basis to try and train people. Energy. FANUC has got a really, really key message there, is that everything we do is around making sure that energy is as low as possible, we're as efficient as possible. We're using that energy and trying to regenerate some energy. Yeah, a lot of the machines we do, certainly the bigger machines, will regenerate that energy, a bit like a Formula One car, and try and reuse that. Make sure we've got great service provision. We from here and from other sites across Europe and globally, we have got great service provision. Yeah, the target from FANUC is to have 6 hours mean time to repair. Yeah, that's an ambition, don't you know? It's probably a long way off at the moment, but we still sit here in the UK at sub 20 hour mean time to repair. That's pretty good. Yeah, on average. Yeah, less than one working day, to try and repair a piece of equipment. We also have some really good post-sale activities going on with pieces of software that we can deploy. So we've got a piece of software called Zero Downtime. That tracks data that's coming from different machines and allows us to actually gather data on a cloud and feed back to the customer and predict when things are going to break down. So you can actually plan for that downtime, plan for the gearbox change that may be failing, after 15 or so years, of course. But we can actually really do some great work there to actually make sure we try and reduce the downtime. One other piece of software we have is FANUC Assisted Reality, and you'll see clips of it and talk to the service people about assisted reality. If we can't get an engineer to your site quick enough, but we do have people sat here in the office because they're on the hot desk, let's get on the industrial equivalent of FaceTime and actually sort of show those guys in the service office there the problem. We can use that FANUC Assisted Reality software to actually guide your maintenance people in the right way with expert technical support sat in the office. There's some great options there to try and reduce the time to repair, making sure that we keep that equipment in service as long as possible. We touched upon reliability data, and to give you some numbers there which are quite astounding really when you look at it. Yeah, mean time before failure. Yeah, an industry recognised way of measuring how efficient and how reliable a piece of equipment is. CNC solutions, what FANUC is known for, 25 years mean time before failure on average. Yeah, that is very, very good. Robots, even better, 32 years. Yeah, and even on the RoboShots and some of the other robo machines, we're just around that, hovering around the 10-year mark for mean time before failure. So when you deploy this piece of equipment, you know that there's a very, very good chance that it will never break down. Yeah, and if it does break down, it will get serviced and supported as quick as we possibly can. In Europe, I know this sort of is pretty counterintuitive. We have quite a lean service structure because we don't need it. We've got a very reliable product. Yeah, a lot of what we do is preventative, making sure things are serviced in the right way and managed in the right way from a service provision to make sure they do stay around those numbers. Yeah, that's really important to us. So our philosophy there is obviously making sure that we've got the lowest total cost of ownership for our products with an extended lifetime. We want you to use your product, that product that you deploy for, not just 10, 15, 20 years. We will support that piece of equipment for its entire lifetime. That lifetime is what you decide. It could be 30, 40 years. We're still servicing and supporting pieces of equipment that are that old, That helps with total cost of ownership calculations because you can deploy that piece of equipment for a very long time. You can use it from one contract to the next to the next. So I would urge you, and urge the purchasing people especially, let's not think about sub 2-year payback, because that's maybe counterintuitive to actually purchasing the right equipment the first time round. So, a couple more slides. I can show you some really good examples of this sort of a total cost of ownership way of thinking. So FANUC ROBOSHOT, we'll take the ROBOSHOT, the injection molding product we do. We see there that the initial cost is similar as other electric injection molding machines on the market. The cost of operation, it's world class, we believe. Yeah. So what I will say is that we've got a disclaimer there. These are all statements that are accurate to our knowledge. Okay. The cost of maintenance, we believe it's the lowest in the marketplace. We believe that the FANUC ROBOSHOT can be kept in a serviceable state for less than £500 per year. Now, as a piece of equipment that can be running 24/7, can be at very high temperatures, have cooling, heating elements to it, you know, producing products, less than £500 a year to keep a piece of equipment serviceable is pretty good, yeah? I think my car cost last time I serviced that cost more than that, so it's pretty good. So lowest in the marketplace in terms of downtime. We want to try and keep it up, keep that production going. Cost of production, yeah, lowest in the marketplace. And importantly, if you do decide to get rid of that piece of equipment, it's got a really high second-hand value because of the FANUC way in which we support that equipment. So, in our opinion, yeah, as a thought leadership piece, total cost of ownership can be a way forward for you and your teams to actually adopt automation in the right way, a different way to maybe you're doing it now. Look to the long term, yeah? Make sure that the actual automation strategy feeds into your business strategy. Hopefully you see higher productivity and, as I say there, importantly, higher profitability. And that's me done. So any questions? Oh, stunned silence. Well, okay.
No questions? No? Okay, thank you, Oliver. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so coming up, we will have someone from a company that I find incredibly exciting, and it's a company called Recycle Eye. That's a little bit later on, but affects each and every single one of us. So it's a really, really good inspirational talk. We've also got a discussion on data and a panel discussion with current users about sustainability as well. But next up, the next gentleman has travelled all the way over from the USA to talk about the next topic, helping customers to be more productive and sustainable, by Tom Mott from Rockwell Automation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to thank FANUC for hosting the event and giving me an opportunity to talk about sustainability. It's very important to Rockwell, as it is to many other companies. I can say this, that I was at dinner last night and I found out something I didn't know, which is that dogs are invited to dinner. There are dogs everywhere. We were in Leamington last night, and about 8 dogs, people have their dogs for dinner. It was very interesting for me. So, good. All right. So really, it's a brief discussion on a couple of things. Number one, just to share Rockwell's commitment to sustainability and productivity. We feel that these are tightly coupled, and really we talk about how it meets to helps the bottom line and et cetera. And this has been a common thing around sustainability, productivity in the FANUC discussions as well. So, and then also just desired outcomes, right? So what we have is that, it's our commitment, but also our commitment to helping our customers and partners be sustainable as well. So I'm going to walk through kind of our performance metrics over the past few years. We've been now, I think, for 3 or 4 years reporting on this annually as part of our thing. So basically the report would come out in February each year for the preceding year. So here's our priorities are this, around environment, social, and governance, right? So the first one is really, we feel the biggest impact that Rockwell can have is really helping our customers, right? We're also, tracking our own metrics. We have about 19 plants globally making Rockwell products. And I'll get into some of the details, but, from our CEO on down, this is a central focus to the DNA within Rockwell. And when we take a look at governance, obviously, not only the cybersecurity, is a key component. But really product safety, how the products are used, is a critical part of our success in the marketplace. So we really sum it up into three things, right? It's customers, the company, and communities, right? And with this, what we have is, it's really, we have an industry focus, right? Because this is how we go to market through an industry lens, because each industry has a unique set of criteria and how they set goals to achieve those goals. And then within Rockwell, we do a lot of what's called electronic manufacturing. So our usage isn't as intense as a lot of our customers as well. And then communities, we feel that it's really important to give back, to be an active part of the community. And especially with events like this, so WorldSkills, training the new generation is also a key part. So here's a snapshot between Scope 1 and Scope 2, right? Here's kind of the breakdown, right? So Scope 1 being our usage, Scope 2 being kind of the usage that we buy from others, and having the carbon footprint measured across that. And so our goal, very simply stated, is to be net zero by 2030 in Scopes 1 and 2. So when we take a look at planning for Scope 3, and Scope 3 is a bit harder to measure for some because it's really across the entire value chain, we're really trying to quantify this by the end of the year, and we'll be reporting for the first time next year within our Scope 3 goals. So basically we've been implementing ways to take a look at higher granularity and get some optics and insight in terms of coupling the data that we have within our plants and our customers' plants along meeting and tracking the goals. So a good example is within the European community, we've been greening our fleet, right? So we're a sales-focused organization. We have a lot of people on the road meeting with customers, running projects. So within 11 countries, we've really been greening the fleet as an example of some of the things we're doing. So EcoVadis, we were recently certified gold, which means that we're in the top 5% of all organizations that are measured under this criteria, and there's about 100,000 currently measured in this. So we're very proud of this achievement, and was captured last year. And here's some other activities that we've had in terms of SmartWay, we joined in 2007. So for over, 10, 20 years now, sustainability has been really a key part of our success. So a little bit deeper dive. So here's some, specifics on water usage. We're going to get into waste, etc. But a prime example of water stewardship is noticed at our headquarters in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So for the past 11 years, or since 2011, we have a rooftop water capture system that is designed to capture 1 million gallons of storm water per year. And to date, it's captured and really made active about 11 million gallons of water. So if you ever get an opportunity to visit Milwaukee, it's really a sight to see. It's an amazing ecosystem on top of the building. This building has really been in existence and matured since our founding in 1903. So our headquarters sits at the original location that the Bradley brothers started the organization. So we're very proud of this, and it's really been a very specific impact to the local community for capturing. And then, there's, some metrics around cubic meters and tonnage. What we see is that we've crept up a little bit in terms of usage because, from COVID, we're down a little bit now that people are back at the, our, let's call it our locations. Something to think about here. So, another one with waste, a good example is, so 85% of the waste recycled and used. But, what more importantly, so for our new products with our packaging, we're really achieved a zero landfill waste for new products. And we're working on kind of the value stream for all of the mature products as well. We have our SKUs range of about 350,000 SKUs totally across all product lines in the globe. So again, so very specific metrics that we're trying to measure, and we're designing in sustainability to all future products. So sustainable customers, right? So as I mentioned, we feel that our biggest impact is really helping customers achieve their sustainable or ESG goals. And we really kind of do this through three things, right? The first one is insights, and it's capturing the data set that's available and then contextualizing that data in terms of, how it's working in their operations, and basically bringing insights in a real-time basis. And then with those, the insights, you can make an immediate impact, not only on or during production, but again, the customer's value stream as well. And then the last one is really kind of innovation, right? And I'll get into some specific examples, but it's really around kind of embedding sustainability characteristics within our products, within our value chain, and basically making customers aware of how they can do that themselves. So this is our CEO, Blake Moret. We're active participants in the World Economic Forum and have had 2 employees serve in fellowships along this, right? So basically, I think, Blake co-chairs the Advanced Manufacturing CEO Action Group, right? So this is something that I know FANUC has been starting to get involved with as well. And Blake, at least in America, so Mike Chico is the CEO of the Americas. We're closely aligned on, the type of work we're doing with the World Economic Forum and bringing FANUC into that role as well. So here's a little bit of a snapshot, but really the intention is to kind of show how across verticals we're impacting, right? And I'll just run through one of the examples. But, down the left side, it's really, the recycling, carbon capture, all the things that you would typically track within ESG. But, so electrification is one where I think it's by 2025, it's the battery passport, right? So this is kind of a European regulatory standard that will become active. And we're already starting to put things in place to really capture this, from how the raw materials are mined, where the cell manufacturing is produced. There's a lot of investment in the space, obviously, and there's a lot of technology change. So the chemistry changes, things like that. So we need to be very upfront in how we're capturing this data set as technology matures quickly. And then, of course, all the way through. So it's not only, the pack assembly and how they're in vehicles, but then how those batteries are recycled as well. So, and in my opinion, this is a part that's a little bit unknown, right? So we have, there's been kind of a gold rush, if you will, towards this market, because there's a need for it, obviously, and I've been hearing a little bit about, some of the taxes and things like this. So, this is a very good investment. So expanding the insights and driving sustainability. So these are the challenges we really hear from our customers, right? And it's really, regulatory compliance, water stewardship, meeting the efficiency and circularity or recycling as well. And it's kind of getting to the goals, right? Because again, when we look at scope 3, this is fairly hard to measure today. So scope 1 and scope 2, they're fairly direct because what's happening in your plant, and at least working with the utilities, kind of what their footprint is in the things that you're buying, whether it's steam, electricity, etc. So hopefully this resonates with the audience, because these are very common for the things that we hear. And then, here's the solution, right? So it's really bringing data into this environment, right? So, whether it's smart energy, and I'll get into a little bit of some of our product portfolio and things like that. But, you know, it's really, if we take anything away today, what I'm hoping is that the, you know, that it takes an entire ecosystem to achieve these goals. And as technology matures, and I think it will continue to mature rapidly, that, you know, Rockwell, FANUC, and the whole partner ecosystem is here to help you through that journey. So, you know, so here are some of the solutions. You know, and I'll get into some specifics because they're really tied to some of the use cases I have. So model predictive control, right, is one, where we're taking our edge compute platform on the chassis and really taking the models from that and, you know, rolling in AI, rolling in machine learning, things like this. The other one that I'll talk about is really the edge to cloud, right? So it's really having that whole infrastructure, and, you know, the robots are part of the ecosystem. Rockwell's platform is part of the ecosystem as well. But it's really taking that data set and contextualizing it within a real-time production environment. So I'll just run through a couple of examples, and this is one with a so these guys are in South Africa. So Energy Drive is an OEM or a system integrator we work with. And really what we did here is we embedded intelligence in our drive product portfolio for variable frequency drives. And really what we did here is that the results in this particular one was we saved 379,000 tons of carbon, as well as 62% energy savings in the shaft environment. So, and there's a couple more examples I'll run through. So here's one that's an oil and gas producer in Latin America. Again, really around energy consumption, et cetera. In this case, we used AI in a plant PAX predictive model, like I said before. And really the results speak for themselves. So we had a 3% reduction in energy, as well as capturing about another 500 or over 500 barrels per day in this case, right? Of which is, you know, with the same energy usage. Excuse me. Two more examples, if I could. So this is one where we used embedded AI control. And again, 2,200 kilowatts of savings per day. And then the last one I'll talk about is our consulting services. So this is a European food company. So Rockwell acquired an organization called Calypso. And really, a lot of the models that we're doing are really start with the consulting process first. And then you basically deploy the models within production, and then you immediately have a validation or closed loop feedback loop to check performance. So how do we expand the impact? In this case, it's really around stewardship across the value chain. And you know, here's a couple of points, right? So it's really product innovation. It's really, you know, the passport and tying in the entire value chain within not only our products, but the customer's process and around environmental stewardship. So here is really kind of the Calypso model, if you will. And this is a very consultative approach, right? Where we're, you know, diving deep down into the product development, production, distribution, usage, and disposal. So really you need to have all of these as part of the initial conversation to make sure that you're capturing every possible angle to achieve your goals. And, you know, so here's another specific on product traceability. Like FANUC, Rockwell has a very strong DNA and history with partnering. So, you know, we understand that so it takes really an entire ecosystem and a partner network, and I'll get into that a little bit, to really meet customer needs and achieve their goals. So here's one with water. What we did was, in this case, we're working with West Virginia University. in recovering, rare earth elements out of the water stream, etc. So, and all of these, and we'll have another, tomorrow, if we want to have a side conversation on specifics, I'm certainly more than happy to do that as well. So as we take a look at, again, our product portfolio, it's really kind of the fix-it-first initiatives, right? Excuse me. And what we're doing is, in this case, we're, the calculator, we're piloting with customers and partners new tools to really achieve to understand their goals and to really roll technology into everything we're doing in terms of ESG. And then, so carbon capture, electrification, hydrogen, etc. So our partner network, I talked a little bit about this, but so Rockwell has, FANUC is our strongest alliance partner, but we also partner with Microsoft, Cisco, PTC, etc., to really take excuse me. So really the entire solution in terms of how we go to market and with taking the so basically to reduce time, etc. So, and here's one of our last use cases in terms of with ESPO. We did this also with we had a 20% increase in output, etc. So here are some other examples across our electric vehicle, renewable energy, and recycling. So, any questions in terms of?
Any questions? Any questions from the floor? No?
No.
Any final few words, or are you happy?
Yeah, sure.
Yep, wonderful. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you. Thank you. Tom, also, I have a really cute dog, if you want to borrow it tonight when you go out in Leamington as well.
Thank you.
Right, thank you so much, Tom. Really inspiring to see how much a company is doing regarding sustainability. Okay, next up we have so next up to talk is an accredited system integrator of Rockwell themselves. He will be talking about how they've used data to their advantage at the UK's largest steel stocker holder. So data-driven insights for a sustainable future by Peter Clark. So I'd like to welcome him on stage. Ah, fabulous. Sorry, I thought you... Here we go.
See you now. Check that works. Morning. I will apologise because I've got a sore throat today, so I will keep sipping water. So, my name is Peter Clark from CHG. I own a group of companies based in Sheffield, established in 2004, mainly a systems integrator for Rockwell, panel builder, electrical contracting company, working in water and wastewater utilities. We're on frameworks for Yorkshire Water, Severn Trent Water, United Utilities and Welsh Water. Also working in rail and multi-site manufacturing companies. Amongst my other companies, we've got a software company called Link2, a CCTV transmission company called Arentis, and a service company mainly in laboratories for the UK and Ireland steelworks, cement works, foundries and contract labs. So as part of our journey over the last 20 years next year, we've obviously got involved with a lot of customers at different levels, and we started to look at collecting data around 10 years ago and using that data collection to bring insights into their business operation. That started with paper converting factories and fast packaging machinery, and their ability or inability to monitor equipment and its performance per shift and against different product ranges. And we, back then, which were a long time ago now, we developed a product that used power and analytics around that power to look at machine performance, OEE and total equipment effectiveness. That then grew into a relationship with Barrett Steels, then a 28-site UK steel stockholder, which was 8 to 10 years ago when we started this journey, were turning into sort of a manufacturing company. So rather than just selling the steel, they were starting to pre-manufacture, cut, drill, plasma cutters, gas cutters, blasters, paint lines, and really moving into being a big manufacturer in the UK in their market. We started off by monitoring a few individual machines. They were running a manual process, collecting data by hand, little check sheets filled out by operators, then someone typing that out into an Excel spreadsheet, and eventually that information would get through to the site managers and the operations director, and it'd be brilliant. We did really, really well 3 weeks ago, or we did really, really badly 3 weeks ago. So the driver from Paul Burke, who we worked very closely with, was I need this data immediately. We fitted power monitoring and analytics onto 8 machines on one site as part of an operational trial, which we then rolled out onto 56 machines across 10 sites. That eventually, after obviously lots of work, training people, that paid back in 3 months for the entire project, based on only the operational improvements on one of the sites with 8 machines. And we were seeing that by monitoring the data, passing that data through to operations directly, so a lot of that was looking at information directly to people, so ensuring that the operator on that machine knew exactly where he was at any point in time, but also him knowing that his manager and his manager's manager knew the same information. And we saw improvements of between 15 and 23% in OEE, which really we were only looking at machine availability. So really, really great improvements there. So as part of that move, I'm going to have to look at this because I can't see that, I'm sorry. So as part of that movement, we moved on from that. So we ran that project for around 8 years, increasing the number of machines we monitored, increasing the amount of depth we went into with that data. So let's not just look at, is the machine running, is it not running? Let's look at how many cuts it's doing, how many holes is it drilling, and lots more sort of innovative information gathering around each different type of machine. We then started to look at, well, how can we make this better? We'd already identified through the downtime analysis that we gained from the OEE that there was a lot of time not achieved by downtime. Now, Barrett Steels run a team of 40, well they do now, 40 asset care engineers that were going around repairing machines, a lot of planned maintenance activities that generally up to 50% of those activities got cancelled due to operations not being able to meet their operational deliveries on equipment. So then, because they couldn't do the planned maintenance, they then broke down more often. So then the asset care team were busier because they were doing breakdowns, not planned maintenance. So they got into a pretty vicious circle of we can't maintain, but we also can't support the machines running. So we looked at different products that we could use from Rockwell that would support that journey. So we split up the products into different areas. So we wanted to visualise all the information. So we were looking at ThingWorks as a single pane of glass. We were looking at a CMMS system, so Fix as a product. We were looking at adding localised PLCs to each machine to do monitoring, either power monitoring or quite detailed monitoring using digital inputs and network implementation. And that built into more of a digital strategy rather than just being a monitoring solution. So while we're working through the digitisation, the workshops with the managers and the operations staff and the asset care users, we're also starting to collect a hell of a lot of data. Data around the amount of downtime that was seen on each machine, each type of machine, and what type of downtime was on there. So you can see on the left-hand side, that's how we monitored and reported against each downtime reason. We're also looking at the amount of transfer of stock, so which sites were producing the most amount of tonnes of steel, and how did that look across each site based on their operational performance. We're also then looking at each type of machine and each site and how their OEE had improved over each period. So we're monitoring this every day, each week, each month, each quarter, looking at the data against number of tonnes produced. So are we seeing any correlation between machine types, different types of sites, running different types of steel? And we're feeding this information back in. So is there a training problem? So if we can achieve 83% OEE on one type of machine on one site, why can't we do that on another site? So are there training opportunities for the operations staff? We then, based on the power monitoring that we were doing, started to look at shift patterns. So again, looking quite high level and looking for patterns in the data, we were able to identify that we're using quite a lot of data, quite a lot of power on, so this is the bottom graph, quite a lot of power on non-operational shifts. Why is that? Are we leaving machines running? Are we leaving all the lights on when we go home on a Friday night? But it's quite evident across all sites. There was a high amount, over 40% of max power usage on non-operational shifts. So we're collecting a lot of data. We're providing that insight back to operations, and we're looking to be able to offer insight onto basically where are we going to look to make the biggest improvement to that operations. And they were able to identify that just a 1% improvement in OEE would give them £250,000. So when we wind that up into 15 to 23% improvements, there was a lot of money that we'd identified as savings and that would form part of their business plan moving forward to fund these improvements and additional monitoring. So we wanted to split this data up and try and look at the different stakeholders. So where could we add benefit to the different stakeholders in the business from the data we were collecting? And obviously that data means different things to different people, whether it's the operations staff on the ground, the operations managers, the maintenance teams, and the board of directors. What do they want to do? And a lot of this data is now driving decisions, which has been spoke about in previous presentations today, of where they will eventually spend their money, or ultimately where they may choose not to spend that money. We then started, and this is really going now into this year, we've started to look at sustainability. So how can we use this power monitoring, energy, to flip the data and look at improvements around sustainability to meet Barrett Steel's sustainability goals. And power monitoring is obviously the key one that we've focused on, because we've already got that data, we're already collecting it, we've already got the high-level data coming from their basic half-hourly metering on each site. We know the number of people they've got, the tonnes produced, and the shift patterns. So can we make some quick gains against their sustainability target by reducing power usage? And one of the areas that was really interesting is when we did a deep dive into their power utilisation across all sites. So the chart on the right-hand side shows how we split up each site. Now, we actually did this based on the fixed electrical installation reports that obviously most companies, and certainly the large companies, need to do. So based on that report, we run some analytics, got the software guys to go, let's split up all that information and see generally how do we split that data up. Well, we know we've got machines, we've got compressors, cranes, EV chargers and small power. What percentages are they? Where is the power usage against those percentages? Then look, let's apply some potential savings by turning lights off, adding LED lighting, removing leaks from compressors or putting better quality equipment in. And based on those percentage savings, which are quite small, I mean, we think we could probably double all of those in real time, we were able to look at savings of up to £1 million per year on electricity alone across those sites. We then started to look at other data, cranes being a big one. So Barrett Steels have got 275 cranes installed across all their facilities. A large investment in keeping those cranes in the air, keeping them legal, full asset care team that only look at those assets, and an operations management team that really don't want to see the number of cranes reduced. So we did a project on one site where we looked at crane utilisation and how they were actually used in detail on each track, and that identified that there was quite a lot of opportunities for improvement. And this is some of the data from that. So where we were looking at total equipment effectiveness on cranes, and we weren't even getting down to the detail of monitoring each individual crane. This was monitoring the crane track. So how much power was that crane track taking? And that crane track could have got up to 6 cranes operating on it. And even with that number of cranes, we were still seeing as little as 3% utilisation on some sites of that crane track. Based on that, we were able to identify that we could probably reduce the number of cranes across all facilities by up to 20%, which is when you're looking at probably the best part of £250,000 to £350,000 per crane. That's a huge saving in investment in the future and maintenance costs. Then looking at what we did with FIX. So FIX is a CMMS system. We're trying to collect data and manage up to 800 assets with a team of 40 asset care engineers. Again, collecting a hell of a lot of data about scheduled maintenance, breakdowns on each machine, what type of breakdowns they're having. So a lot of analytics done on that. And that led us to look at different ways of looking at that data and lots of value-added work streams of how we can then reduce downtime across all their operational assets. And looking at some of the information that we get from FIX, so it's a software as a service platform, availability of data to everybody, straight at your fingertips with their dashboards, web-based dashboards or mobile app. And this information, obviously, it's there immediately, so we're able to capture the data for each asset, understand how many assets they've got per site, which again, quite an interesting journey of people's perception of what they have got or what they think they've got and what they've actually got. Putting all that into Fix, adding all the people in, looking at scheduled maintenance across all sites and assets, and then collecting the operational data around that and focusing onto which assets need the most maintenance, and ultimately may look at replacing those assets that are the worst performers. This is going on more to look at sustainability and Barrett Steel's targets. So, and again, looking at how we validate the data, formalising that reporting so everyone's getting the same information in the same format, so it's easy to analyse, and then delving down into each site and each piece of equipment to see how we can make improvements. We wanted to visualise this in a single platform so that everybody sees the same information in the same way. And we've used ThingWorks for that, so this is our ThingWorks platform, and the very sort of high level for your board of directors that want to see which are the best and the worst performers of all the operational UK sites. We're then delving down into a machine level, so what's happening on a site with the site machines and what's happening for an individual operator. So he's able to use localised PCs, pointing at this web data to be able to visualise what's happening on his machine. We're also looking there at best shift, so what happened last shift, what happened at the same shift the week before, and what happened last month. So always driving that KPI data and that value to improvement. As we're looking towards the future for Barrett's, and we've done a lot of data collection going back 8 years, and we've now 1 year into the digital transformation, implementing Fix, implementing ThingWorks, and implement a lot of workshops and data-led analytics. We've also been building up a digital twin of their facilities. Now this is 2 levels. So at 1 level, this is looking at total number of people, all shift operations, basically hours worked, total tonnage produced per site and per type of machine, and then looking at the number of facilities. We're pulling that all together using Arena, discrete event simulation software from Rockwell, and building a full digital twin of their facility. We're looking at how that then, by looking at a percentage reduction in energy, in manpower potentially, what that looks like for the next 5 years. But also the flip side of that is if they're looking to increase their throughput by 5–10% per year, which they generally have done through acquisition, what does that actually look like from a power usage and a utilisation perspective? So it's been very interesting to look at that data and sort of project that forward. We've also then, on the left-hand side, started to do some deep studies into an individual site and see how we can make improvements on machine performance and product throughput. So moving machines around, how does that impact workflow, and how can we make improvements, again, driving performance. And that's it from me. Any questions?
We do. Coming to the rescue. One moment.
Hi there. When it comes to a company like Barrett doing a digital transformation, how difficult is it to get the buy-in of the wider staff, and how important is that to the success of the overall project, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very important that you do get the buy-in at all levels. and it's quite interesting the feedback that you get at each level. So from an operations point of view, they think it's Big Brother watching them. So quite interesting stories around sort of sites will want you there and are really like to see the data, and other sites think that you're basically watching them and that you're interfering with what they're doing. But on the flip side of that, you also see that they see it as a benefit. So when we're logging downtime against each machine, by an operator is able to enter his own reasons, he's then able to say, well, I told you that I've been having lots of problems with this machine and no one was taking any notice of me. So they very quickly see the benefits of that. But you do need to, obviously it's a lot about engaging closely, doing workshops, training sessions and getting the input with the operations level. Then when you go up to the manager level, obviously a manager's being monitored by his manager. So he may be, I'm going to say fudging the figures, but he may be doing that. So obviously data doesn't lie. And again, it can be used positively or negatively. But I think the most interesting one is where, when you do present the information around actual performance and actual downtime, that the higher levels really don't believe that it's true. So it's that trying to really nurture them that, no, this data's real, this is what it means, and these are tangible benefits. I think on the back of that, and this is why we really use trials and proof of concepts, is that we, from day one, we build the business case around the data, so that if we can demonstrate that there is £1 million worth of savings to be had, then even if we can go for 25% of that, that should more than fund a project. And that's really why we've started to look not just at the bottom up, but from the top down. So looking at just half-hourly metering and shift patterns, even if I just look at that data, I bet we can identify large amounts of savings.
Any more questions? No? Thank you very much, Peter. That was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next up is really quite exciting. I'm a bit of a fan of this concept and this company. Really, really eye-opening, and it affects every single one of us. This company have had installations in the UK, in France, in Germany, and their growth is phenomenal. Please welcome onto the stage Tom Harrison from Recycle. Thank you, Tom.
Hello. Welcome. I'm here today, obviously, to talk to you about AI robotics in the waste industry, give you a bit of a case study. My name is Tom Harrison. I'm one of the technical sales managers for the UK and Ireland at Recycle. I've got a background in factory and logistics automation, so quite familiar with FANUC and what you guys do. Recycle is an AI automation company within the waste industry, and we've got an exclusive sales and R&D partnership with FANUC. We've had that since our foundation in 2019. And with FANUC, we've developed a bespoke system that can integrate with our AI in order to identify and sort waste in material recovery facilities, or MRFs. And today we're just going to talk a bit about that journey and some of the results. But first, I'd like to scare you with some statistics, if that's okay. And give you a bit of a background into the waste industry. So, did you know only 9% of plastic has ever been recycled? This is from the OECD Plastic Outlook report in 2022. And to give you an understanding of how much plastic we produce, if you were to line up all of the PET bottles that are produced in a single year, end to end, and travel from one end to the other, it would take you an entire year if you were traveling in an F-16 fighter jet. And just to bear in mind that PET bottles are a subset of PET, and PET is a subset of plastic, and plastic is a subset of all of the kind of materials that we recycle. So it's a huge amount that we produce, and not a huge amount that we recycle. But here are some of the companies that are recycling, but obviously, as you can see, not hitting the goals. Coca-Cola being one of the best, currently at around 8% of recycled plastic in their packaging, but for a goal of 2030, a bit behind. All of these other companies realistically have about a year to hit their target, and not too many near it. So there are a few reasons for this. There's one big main one though, and that is that the cost of sorting this material is higher than the value of the material. So some of it's a bit easier to sort, which is the stuff that does get recycled. As you can see, that's the 8%. But the rest of it, the cost of sorting is just too high. And we need to decrease that cost in order to increase the recycle rates. So here's the current process. Obviously, for domestic and commercial waste, it gets put into your bin. It then gets picked up by your local authority probably, and then brought to either a public or a private company that then sorts the waste, bales it, and then sends it off to get reprocessed. The issue with this current process is that obviously it all comes in commingled all together, and we need these big bulk sorting machines to try and separate out the different wastes. But they're quite kind of traditional machines, analog machines, and they don't get it to a point where you can immediately recycle it. You need this next process of manual labor to quality control to get to a purity where you can actually recycle it. The issue with manual labor is it's quite expensive. It's quite hard to come by at the moment. But another big issue is that there's no data associated with the manual labor. So like I said, it's quite a traditional process at the moment, and we need to decrease this cost in order to increase the recycling rates. So that's where we come in. We are Recycli. So we're a team of 50. We've got 30 engineers, roughly. We've currently installed 21 robots in the UK and Ireland, and then we've got 6 in Europe, and we're installing more at the end of this year and the beginning of next year. Here's kind of a map to give you a bit of scope of where we are. You might recognize some of these companies, probably Biffa. But our solution, essentially, it's 2 parts. The first is a AI vision system, which detects and categorizes the waste. And then we use a FANUC robot in order to actually physically sort the waste. So why AI? Well, AI is extremely flexible, and essentially it can do the job of a human. It's flexible up to the point where you can make it do whatever job you teach it to do. So here should be a quick video of some of the robots working. And again, we can mold this solution to any, so you've got an aluminium line here. Again, it's all just teaching the AI, and this is the most recent one, again in Northern Ireland on a residual line, so it's actually collecting waste that would have otherwise gone to landfill and not been recycled. So here's what the robot actually sees. So this is our AI system, so you can see it doesn't just detect the waste, it categorizes it, but also categorizes it in a subcategories of colors of bottle, because each plastic needs to get sorted into color if you want to recycle it properly. So what challenges are we trying to face with our solution? So our customers, obviously one of the big ones there is the labor. It's quite expensive. People move jobs. People need to get trained up. This then results in quite fluctuating costs. If we can give a solution that is a consistent cost, gives consistent picking, gives consistent outcomes, that will lead to controlling the OPEX. Okay, reducing the costs and controlling that cost and making it manageable. That will increase the profitability and hopefully the reliability and the purity of what they're producing, and then increasing the recycling rates overall. So AI isn't without its challenges. You don't just put AI into anything and it magically makes everything really good. MRFs aren't the most attractive places to go for humans, but for flies, they're fantastic. Flies love them. So one of the issues is that our vision systems would see the flies as products and try and start picking them. So we had to kind of change up what we were looking at, change the system. We're seeing a lot of wildlife in these plants. We actually seen a lot of like cats on the belts. They find the lighting really warm when the plants are shut down. Some weird stuff that you see on the cameras in there. Another thing is the fluctuation in waste. So one of our first installs was actually in Northern Ireland about a week before St. Patrick's Day. And very quickly we saw the shiny silvery cans turn into matte black cans, which we had to change again our model to deal with that. So where does FANUC come in? Obviously we've been partnered with them since 2019. We tried out 2 different systems. The first was a Delta robot and the second was the LR Mate 200 ID. And we found that the Delta robot is quite big for this system. Also, the way that it picks, you're going up and down, left and right, and then dropping. And in order to get a high pick rate, essentially to match a human picker, it needs to move very quickly, and we found that it was dropping a lot of products. But with the 6-axis robot, because it can twist and turn, the robot path is much, much smaller, much, much shorter, and so you can move it more slowly and more precisely without dropping everything, but still get a really high pick rate. The other thing, it's extremely light, extremely compact. We're retrofitting these into a lot of places, sometimes with stairs and stuff, and with the 6-axis robot, you can just chuck it on your shoulder and walk up the stairs. With the Delta robot, it was a bit harder to do that. So this whole thing was developed with FANUC over a few years to get it to the place where it is now. So this is how it's actually impacting the challenges that the customer have. So for the labor headaches, the robot isn't going to switch jobs. It's not going to take any sick leave. It's not going to go to the toilet. So you don't have to, you can have a consistent cost and it can run 24/7, constantly picking, constantly bringing value to the customer. Again, this leads to controlling the OPEX. We offer purchase and lease options for the customer just to, give them the option. And again, this all leads to profitability, which then leads to more recycling, more stuff being recycled. So here are some of the material classes that we work with. I'm sure you guys are familiar with some of these, but it's all very different environments, and we need a product that can deal with these environments, dirty, dusty environments. And FANUC themselves, they come out once a year to service the robot, which, in a place like this, it's not very much time at all. It's quite a long periods that you go in between, but it works absolutely fine all the time. So what's next for us? We obviously trying to expand as much as possible within the commercial and residential waste industry, sell more robots, hopefully. But also looking into other waste industries as well, for example, electronics, construction, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's all from me. Any questions? Yes, please.
Hi, just looking at the possible future uses for the technology. Recently, DEFRA finally announced their sort of simpler recycling for household waste, where at last household food waste is going to be sent, collected separately and sent for anaerobic digestion treatment. One of the biggest problems for anaerobic digestion plant operators is contaminated food waste streams. And there are technologies to remove things such as packaging, as well as things like grit and stones with like more farm-type waste. Do you think your technology could be used in that kind of industry as well, sort of getting stuff out of food waste to improve the quality of that material?
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the big benefits of AI is it's extremely flexible. So if you can teach it the data set, it can very easily sort whatever you teach it to do. But yeah, it's a really good point. Obviously, a DEFRA fan in the audience. But yeah, it's something that's coming into the industry. It's something that's being talked about a lot in the waste industry. There's a few companies doing it at the moment, but it also helps with the data. You know, if you have vision systems around the plant at the moment, there's nothing recording anything in the plant. If you can have the vision systems in there that records the data stream, you know, and it can even just flag up, hey, you know, there's a rock in your otherwise perfectly clean food line, and then we can go in and sort it, whether it's with an automatic system, a robot, or any other technology. So yeah, absolutely, I see a future in that. Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah, really fascinating presentation. Really enjoyed it. Good to see AI being put to some good use. Question I had, you mentioned about lease models. Is that something that waste plants are starting to adopt? That's quite an interesting one for me that you've put that in as an option.
Yeah, well, you know, for us, we see it as a benefit for both parties. For us, it's obviously a constant revenue stream, but also we can offer the maintenance with it. And essentially, like under that lease agreement, it's under full warranty. Whereas traditionally, you'll just buy a piece of equipment outright. You might have a maintenance contract with someone, for example, have a few years warranty. But with a lease agreement, because you're staying quite close with the customer, you can offer that extended warranty and you know, any issues that go with it. And also for them, they're able to control their costs. And at the moment, they are paying people, which is essentially like a kind of like a lease. You know, you're paying them a salary. So it's very similar to that. You know, you're essentially just paying the robot salary. You know, not that it cares. Thank you. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay, right. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you. It's really interesting. Now, we are going to have a panel discussion now. So, Tom, I think you're still continuing. Sorry, you tried to escape there, didn't you? Just want to reference everybody who's watching at home as well. We're going to have a little bit of a talk and a debate here on sustainability. So, I'd like to welcome onto the stage. We've got Tom here from Recycli, James Hampshire from Danica, and Joe Mumby from FANUC as well. So, please welcome to the stage. Thank you. The whole point of having these debates or these talks or anything is for you to be interactive. So I think we've got someone with one of the roaming mics that will go round. So if you've got any questions, be part of it. I'm just going to kind of sit on a side and help compare it. And see if I have anything to add. But if we could just, I know we've just met yourself, Tom, but if we could just introduce each of ourselves and kind of why we're part of this talk, because the talk itself is about putting sustainability at the forefront of your manufacturing plans. So if you could begin, please.
Brilliant. So hi, I'm James Hampshire. I work for a company called Danica. We're based in Silverstone. We deploy manufacturing solutions and battery systems into aerospace, automotive, and any sort of off-grid off-highway and grid storage solutions. So battery systems are really the core of what we do.
Okay.
I'm Joe Mumby. I'm Technical Sales Manager here at FANUC. I think FANUC core vision is sustainability. You look at the injection molding machine we produce, it's all electric, it's one of the most sustainable ones on the market. And really we want to drive that home to the customers, the wider audience, is how sustainable things can be if done in the right way.
Okay, and just opening up to the floor as well, if you've got any questions that you want to ask, please ask and, tell us about what your company's beliefs are with sustainability. We'd really like to hear from you too. It's all you're all part of this, and of course online. Okay then, anyone would like to start then? So in terms of putting sustainability at the forefront of your manufacturing plans, what are your views on this, Tom, in terms of where you think people should be going and what people should be doing, and advice you could put out there?
advice for manufacturing. Yeah, I mean, obviously a big thing that we see is the amount of packaging that's produced. If that can be controlled a bit more, the less that's going into it. What's the reduce, reuse, recycle? The reduce is obviously at the top there, and stop it getting into the stream eventually. So I guess that would be probably the main thing that I see in my industry that can be applied to other sectors. Yeah.
Do you think, what's stopping people? Because I know we all talk about it, reduce, reuse. We know the saying, but what's stopping? What can be done, do you think, at a higher level? Because it's quite an interesting subject, really, isn't it? We're all we all want to play our part, but then we also know our limitations are there too.
Yeah. I mean, it's if we want to move into a future with more recycling rates or less waste, essentially, that's what we want to try and. I think it's not so much about more recycling; it's about less waste, and that, like you said, needs to start at the top, at manufacturing plants like this, right? And so that packaging, that product doesn't get into the system, but also making whatever you can, if you do need to, because obviously we do need to produce stuff, in order to move forward as a society. But if we can reduce what we use, but then also change what we do use into recycled products, then we can move forward a bit better.
We have a talk. We've got a cameraman called Chris, and we talk about this quite a lot, and we say the problem is at the top. It's about, his view is it's the companies that are producing these, how can they stop it and everything like that. I think that's a subject for another day of one.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you saw with the FMCGs, they've put out these targets of 50% recycled packaging rates, but clearly falling quite shy. We're trying to do our part, try and reduce that cost in order to get that material available. There are new systems, new legislation coming in, obviously with DEFRA, kind of putting in a potential DRS system and EPR system, which is extender producer responsibility. So essentially for the producer, they need to pay a certain amount for whatever they produce. So that's another way,
wow.
It's kind of moving the cost off. But it's not a perfect solution, because then it just increases your barrier to entry to do anything, to produce anything. And obviously only the big companies are going to be able to do that, right? But yeah, like you said, we need these companies to start recycling more, and that starts at the cost of doing that.
And I know I'm kind of on you at the moment, right. Questioning, but have you got any genius ideas as to how you think that we can? And that
no, not at all.
No, we'll stop that one there. Okay. And from your perspective, as well, putting sustainability at the forefront of your manufacturing plans, what are you seeing? Because you're talking about power.
Yes. So we're sort of at the forefront of doing that. So there's a lot of automotive companies out there who are designing battery systems for applications, not really thinking about what's going to happen with this battery at the end of it. There's a lot of CO2 made when you make a battery and all the facilities that go around it. So we're sort of coming from a different angle and saying, well, let's use technologies that means we can completely reuse the batteries. So when we design a battery and design it into manufacture, we'll say, we could use this in a grid storage system. We can reuse everything that can power cities or little villages, not just the application, not the vehicle or its intended use. Looking at sort of the life cycle from the start of the CO2 offset and the nitrogen and the destruction to the ground mass that we do. We're also delivering that sort of hated word, but micro factories that sort of people have tried to do in the past, but saying, you don't really need, the amount of CO2 that is needed for concrete. We are really saying that you don't need the space that everyone sort of typically thinks you need to do. And then also looking at different materials. So, obviously talking about a lot of plastics, moving away from carbon fibre. A lot of battery enclosures are carbon fibre. You can't really recycle or reuse carbon fibre again. So using a plastic that you could remelt or aluminiums that can be repurposed and reused, and then sort of taking adhesives and using more sustainable materials rather than sort of vermiculites that people use for gaskets, using cork. it's a natural material with silicon, and it's rated to everything that we do. So really taking that thought from the manufacturer, how you make it sustainably, how you reuse it, then how do you recycle it? Because that's the big one. Very similar to yourself with the plastics and sorting and segregating, working with Scientech systems to look at AI systems to disassemble a battery pack that it's never seen before. Being able to take the modules out, take the cells out, and segregate the materials is really something where we're trying to work towards.
Do you think we're short-sighted with it all? Is that what we are? We're being short-sighted, so it's kind of, we're just thinking about one half of the process and not the back end of the process?
Without trying to blanket everybody, some people are. There's a rather famous EV company that might start with T, and you look at what they.
Which one?
We can't say names. Or someone will get on Twitter and shout at me. But you look at their batteries, and they fill them with adhesive. So once that battery is finished in the vehicle, it has to get shredded. There's nothing you can do about it. So you have to restart the process again to remake that battery or get anything from it. Why do we do that? I'm not quite sure. When you could do, bolter joints or different manufacturing technologies to be able to disassemble it and repurpose it. And that's really, there's some companies out there that are doing that, and there's some that aren't. And at Daneka, we're trying to drive that change to sustainable energy security.
Is short-sightedness, or is it the fact that the requirement or the design requirement's not there from the start? So we're all trying to be incredibly competitive in this market. You're trying to create an incredibly competitive battery pack. If the requirement isn't there from the consumer to start off with, are you ever going to design it for that, because it's going to add extra expense, extra complexity, which might make you then not competitive at purchasing price?
And I think you're right, and that's sort of the mindset that's got to change. There's lots of sort of grey area and lots of cloud over sort of batteries and e-mobility and all that sort of stuff. And I think we've rushed into it a little bit by, the OEs have gone into that and said, we don't need to do it, no one's ever asked for it. And that sort of needs to change, because at the end of the day, we're going to end up back in the same situation as petrol and diesel eventually, and we'll not be able to reuse it. So yes, I agree, but we've got to sort of get the mindset to change that, definitely.
What did you say about FANUC? Because you said FANUC are doing quite a huge amount towards this. So can you tell us what FANUC are doing then?
Our products are brilliant. As we just about earlier, the fact that you can either disassemble them or repair them easily. All of our parts and spares are available. So many of our products are in the field many years old, that you can replace the parts and keep them going and going. Which again is that kind of reduce over reusing or buying a new robot or machine. Once it's broken, you can fix it again and keep it working, reducing the CO2 footprint.
Anyone got any questions? I was just sitting there. Yeah, we've got a question.
Does that work? Yeah, so I'm always chipping in with questions. Question to James. I actually work in the automotive sector, so quite interested in what you were saying. Do you think the move towards being more conscientious around battery design is driven by the consumer who's more green-minded, or is it regulatory compliance coming down the track that's going to drive the change?
So a lot of the upcoming change that we've got the EU battery passport, that's the new thing that's going to be coming through. So a lot of the OEs are now trying to have to adopt, the life cycle analysis of knowing where your cells, where all your raw materials come in. So the OEs are starting to adopt. I think that the consumer's always been conscious about the sustainability. Everybody's going on about these zero emission vehicles, or zero tailpipe emissions, as everyone keeps rambling on about. And I think that whole mindset within the industry, within the battery industry, is definitely changing. A lot more people are going, how can we repurpose this? A lot of the battery products that we do, or any battery product that we design, we always have its second life in mind. So we're always doing different things that, okay, it costs a little bit more, but then the carbon offset and the offset to the environment can be recovered and for over a longer period of time. Nothing.
Any more questions? Yeah. Sorry, I can't pass the mic.
Sorry, me again. It's more for Joe, actually, this one. So talking about sort of manufacturers putting sustainability, hopefully, at the heart of their plans. You said before about the FANUC ROBOSHOT, which is, best in class for energy efficiency. How much of a purchasing driver is that to a customer? So, a plastics company looking to buy an injection moulding machine, Is that one of their top sort of priorities when they're looking to get a new machine? I think previously, you know, having that green tick in the box was nice to have, but maybe it's becoming more of a business driver now with the cost of energy spiralling and legislation and, you know, consumer demand and stuff. So has it now become, a key purchasing driver for them, buying an energy efficient machine? Or do you find that's just, you know, nice to put on the marketing brochure, basically?
No, I think certainly, it's incredibly important. As you said, energy prices keep going up and up. It's a huge variable in your business. A lot of those customers really are looking to save. For instance, if you could save half a kilowatt an hour, it's about £1,000 a year you can save in production costs. So you compare it to a hydraulic injection machine, it's probably about kind of 20 kilowatts an hour. And then you switch to an all-electric, you're around 7. So there's thousands of pounds a year you can save. But also looking at the life cycle analysis of the products that you're making. If you're putting less energy in to mould it, to produce it, you've then got a more sustainable product at the end. The whole loop, the closed loop round.
I'm seeing more and more when I go out to a manufacturing company in a facility, they'll all have solar panels on the roof. I'm seeing that a lot, actually. A lot, because of course we work in the machine tool industry, they take up a lot of energy. When I go out there and I speak to people, it's not my perspective but it's theirs, a lot of people just don't care. It's just the bottom line for them. If that is going to save them money, that's it. Like, that's all they're thinking about. And that's what where I meant from short-sightedness is it going to save them money? That's it. That's all they care about.
That's what kind of Oliver mentioned earlier with that kind of life cycle and total cost of ownership. Solar panels have quite a long payback period, so certainly it's a high investment cost. And then you could also look at the investment cost of the CO2 impact of making the solar panels, mounting them to your roof. You've got to wait years and years and years for that to pay back. But when it does, it's free energy on your roof.
What are your thoughts on the future then? What advice would you give? And again, we'd open the floor for any questions, but and of course online. What advice or what is it you want to shout out about, and what do you feel from your heart you kind of are constantly banging the drum of on a day-to-day basis regarding sustainability? And I'll just kind of go down each of you in the line. We'll start with you, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. I think something that you guys literally just touched on is you need, finances are a big thing. You need to make it, unfortunately, financially viable for companies. But that's a job that we can do, If we want to increase recycling rates, if we want to move to green energy, whatever, we need to make it financially viable for people to do. You can't just say, hey guys, let's save
the planet.
Let's save the planet. It doesn't really work like that. You need to we've got an extremely complex system at the moment that can't just change overnight. And but a big driving factor of that is going to be the finances. Okay, so we need to incentivize people.
Is that your stumbling block? Because for me, I watch you talk about recycling. I'm like, and I think, well, why has not every council got what you've got in there? And it just frustrates me, because I think, well, if we just implemented that everywhere, then we'd have all of this AI picking up and then those figures would improve. So is that the main stumbling block that you come up against?
Yeah, I mean, cost is one thing. Being able to, we can try and tailor our solution to whatever we can. It doesn't always work. It's not the perfect solution. AI isn't always a perfect solution, but we are getting better. The company's only 4 years old, so and the best thing about AI is that it constantly gets better. It doesn't really hit a cap. You can constantly get the data set better and increase performance. So. Yeah, and also, it's a very traditional industry in the waste sector. I don't know if it's similar to other industries, but there is that issue there of people are a bit skeptical about it. I don't know.
I think people are scared of AI. I think that's there's a nervousness about it as well.
Yeah, but it's the same with every other technology that's come over the past 100 years. It's how you use it. We can use it for good things or bad things. But just try and use this for good things, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And then what are you kind of beating the drum about now then?
Yes, and not to sort of ramble on about financials, because we're not all accountants here. So, but that is a real big thing for us, the cost of the battery, but then also the cost of the manufacturing facility. Batteries cost a fortune, a crankshaft or a camshaft. Grinding machines and robots, it was more material handling, but the technologies that are needed now, sort of laser welding and wire bonding that go into these production facilities are very expensive. So one of the things that at Daneka we're really pushing for is, I know you guys have your lease, but almost as a service, making sure that the smaller people who are, generally the more creative, and also the big people in the industry can have access to these features and these processes and these ideas and designs that are sustainable. The way I see it is that, it's not going to take one company or one person in the world to sort of deliver energy security. Sustainable energy security is what Daneka, tries to deliver. And it's going to take a combination of companies. We work with Scientech Systems, Schunk, FANUC, and it's going to take a group of people to come together to really drive this home and drive this forward and really deliver sustainability from the start. Again, the whole thing of saying we have to think about how we're going to reuse, repurpose, recycle at the start of when we design or come up with any ideas, and the sustainability that you get and the lower cost of ownership and everything you get from the FANUC products and everything going forwards, all of that goes into the life cycle of every single consumer item we use, and that's what we really need to be thinking about, and that's what we deliver at Daneka.
I kind of like the idea of you saying about testing the water, and I don't know if anyone's seen it, but the rent-a-robot outside as well. It's kind of just almost saying like, here you go, have a go, see what it does, try it. If not, if it works, ultimately it's going to, but it's making it accessible as well.
Absolutely, and I think one of the key things as well is I assume in both of your businesses, but in e-mobility, it's changing so fast. If you're 12 months to deliver a product, you're too late. Someone's already been there and done that, And one of the things with a group of people that we work with is the agileness, the flexibility, being able to deliver and deploy different solutions quickly and adapt to change when it's needed.
And then what are you beating the drum about? I know you've kind of covered that again, but just to kind of finalise, what are FANUC trying to beat the drum about with regards to sustainability?
I think from my long experience within the plastics industry, it's trying to generate more conscious consumers. I think there's a lot of wrong ideas about sustainability, certainly with packaging. You look at different alternatives for plastic bags, for instance. Now, more and more paper bags are coming out. They have a far larger CO2 footprint than a plastic bag. Also, their water pollution is 50 times higher than a plastic bag. So if you're looking at that life cycle analysis, a plastic bag trumps it in that aspect. It's far more reusable. It's lower cost of CO2, less pollution. But if you were to throw it out your car window, the paper bag would be the best choice. And unfortunately, a lot of consumers, they'll buy these things and just throw them away. Another one to compare it to is cotton organic bags, one that you think is actually really quite a sustainable choice. An organic cotton bag, put your shopping in it, that's got a 20,000 times larger CO2 footprint than environmental impact than a plastic bag.
Forgive me, what did you say? Because I didn't hear at the beginning. So you're saying plastic bags in one sense are better than a paper bag, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they have far less CO2 impact and far less environmental impact from a pollution point of view, from actual water pollutions. The paper production is really water heavy. It's a lot of mixing with limestone, other acids to get it to the pulp. Then you've got to bleach it to white, and then inks that go into it. Again, when you have to recycle the paper at the end, you have to bleach it to get the colours out, then to get it back into its product. Plastic is similar, you have to recycle it, but it is a lot more efficient to do it.
Gosh. Did anyone else know that? Did anyone else? I've got some nods because I had no idea about that, so it's so interesting. Okay, any questions from the floor, and then we'll wrap this up? No? Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. I'll just close it out now. So if you are watching online as well, do not go anywhere. Watch a short video, and we're going to be doing a podcast. I think it's only about a minute long, and then we'll be back at 2. That will be a live podcast, by the way, in a minute. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to be doing some exhibitor videos and tours around the exhibition, so you're not going to miss anything at all. And for yourselves, 12:30's lunch, so I'm sure you're going to... everyone's getting excited now. 12:30 is lunch. The food's amazing. and again, take yourself around the event, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, gents. Thank you.
This year's Open House starts on the 14th of November, runs for 3 days. And what I'm particularly excited about this year is the education focus we've got, pushing the WorldSkills competition that we sponsor.
It's something that's very close to my heart, being involved in education, coming through an apprenticeship myself. I always like to see how the next generation are going to perform and grow.
It's a great opportunity for the younger generation to kind of get their foot in the door with robotics and engineering.
From the smallest UK manufacturer to the largest UK manufacturer, automation is the key to everybody. We all need to do it.
Do come to the open house. Come to the open house with a problem. You know, bring it to us and we'll find a solution for you. And I personally really enjoy that challenge.
It's the coming together of all industries and all different applications within robotics, CNC and RoboShot injection moulding as well. So we're showcasing the full plethora of the FANUC product and its offering to the UK market.
FANUC is one of the most cutting-edge technology companies out here, and every year we want to bring something new to show you guys the newest that we can offer, the best that we can offer in the automation to help bring your companies forward in the automation industry. So this year we've got some new exciting innovations all around that you need to come along and see.
Everybody that's visited in the past have gone away and have seen something new or innovative and learned something during the day. Everybody's chatting, talking, asking questions, posing problems to some of the technical team about challenges that they might have in their own workshop. So it's a really good day.
Come and see us on the 14th, 15th, 16th of November. Pre-register on our website and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
The only way that we drive UK manufacturing, UK engineering, UK productivity forward is with everybody together.
So our open house event in November is a really, really fantastic event, especially for the younger generation like myself, because it bridges that skills gap within engineering and allows us to kind of see what we do here at FANUC.
So if you're a student or a lecturer or in one of the training providers around the UK or West Midlands, please come across on the 16th of November. Come and talk to us, engage with us, give us your insights, tell us your pain points. And we as FANUC UK are very much interested in hearing from yourselves and how we can support you going forward.
For the first time this year as well, we'll be hosting the WorldSkills National Final at our FANUC UK Open House event. It's something that's very close to mine.
Well, hello and welcome to the MTDCNC podcast live here at the FANUC 2023 Open House. And what an open house it has been. We've talked about sustainability, we've talked about recycling, we've talked about work holding, tending, lots of different things. And today I've got two guests. So if we can just introduce ourselves before we start. Joe, if we start with you.
Hello, my name's Jerry Cook, Area Sales Manager for Schunk, covering both automation and work holding.
And Tom, you've been a busy man this morning, so if you can just tell us about what you do.
Yeah, my name is Tom Harrison. I'm one of the technical sales managers for Recycli. Recycli is an AI automation company in the waste sector that we use FANUC robots for.
Fantastic. So if it's all right, we'll just start with you. A little bit about Schunk. Obviously, you've got a diverse portfolio, but if we can try and hone in on the work holding and how and the automation and how your solutions for this sector.
Okay, so Schunk, long-established German company. We basically do everything from tool holding, work holding to full automation. So whether we are changing jaws on a chuck or loading billets into a machine tool, we have a solution for everything.
Mm-hmm. And how's this week been with the collaboration here at FANUC?
Again, working with FANUC is always a pleasure to us. We always get good exposure, showing new products that we have, for a various range of solutions.
Tom, if you come back to you, Recycli, it's the clues in the name a little bit, but if you can just, I've just sat through your presentation and the Q&A, which I found fascinating actually. But for the people at home that maybe just tuning in late, just give us a brief synopsis.
Sure, yeah. So Recycli was established in 2019. We've been in partnership with FANUC since we've been established. We've got an exclusive R&D and sales partnership with you guys in the waste industry. And we've actually worked very closely. It's a very valuable relationship to us. We've worked very closely developing that robot to work with our AI in order to interact with the waste, sort the waste, and bring value to the customers. So it consists of two kind of components. One is the AI vision system that detects and categorizes the waste, and then we use the FANUC robot to actually sort the waste.
Yeah, we hear a lot about AI, don't we? It's pretty much in our everyday life with the open AI and all the other things that we hear a lot about. But essentially, how is that helping you, sort waste, essentially? How does that help?
Yeah, I mean, the big benefit to AI is it's extremely flexible. It's a teaching agent. You know, you can change whatever you need to in order to make it work for you. So, you know, if the waste changes, if the waste profile changes in the next 5 years, we can use AI to do that. If we want to move into a different sector, into electronics or C&D, we can do that. It's all about teaching the AI as opposed to traditional sensing methods, which are still very valuable, but essentially it can do that job of a human. And when you have a product coming down the line that's not very uniform, for example, you know, it's not like a production plant where you've got the same bottle of water coming down and you're thinking, is it the right color? Is it the, you know, it could be anything. It could be any plastic type, any aluminium type, and that's where the AI power is. You know, we can teach it to understand what it's looking at in a way, and then we can use that information to sort it properly.
And Jerry, talking about AI, I'm guessing Schunk must be looking at this. You must be having, if I'm thinking of robot grippers, perhaps with vision systems on, with AI. You know, traditionally we need to know what that size of that component is, that raw billet. But maybe you could have lots of different billets, different sizes, and just using some fancy technology, you could just go and pick it up.
Yeah, so Schunk are, we do have a vision system out there that we've developed ourselves, but I know that our engineers in Germany are actually using AI more and more for exactly the same reasons, to recognise the part, so we can adjust maybe the gripper or the work holding to suit whatever we're detecting.
Yeah, because AI in particular, it's not, we think it's new, but it's not. It's been around for quite a number of years now, but it just seems to be this exponential curve, doesn't it? We hear about it every day, we read about it every day. So what has been what's been the big step change? Why are we here talking about it more and more and more?
There's been a lot of technological improvements over the past few years. I mean, when you're talking about AI, you're right, AI has been around for a very long time, many years. AI is essentially something that a human can do, a robot that a human would normally do. And then a subcategory of that is machine learning. So that's where the machine actually kind of learns from itself. And then you have deep learning, which is where it gets quite complicated, and I'm probably not the best person to talk about that. But we've made very big strides in deep learning, and that allows us to process much more data now, and allows us to do much more complex tasks. So that's probably why we're seeing a big boom in it at the moment.
Sure. And Jerry, we don't have it here, unfortunately. I know we are going to see it on on the VT after, but the Schunk automatic jaw change you've got here at FANUC, just for the people who haven't seen that, just talk us through it.
So yes, the Schunk Rapido system, basically we can change jaws on a chuck, whether it be 2, 3 or 4 jaws. It's quite a simple solution that we have out there, where we're basically loading and unloading jaws and also loading and unloading the actual component itself. So it gives you a completely lights out solution in a manufacturing environment. And typically, you know, in a general tool room workshop, you know, you could be changing jaws several times a day, which is quite a laborious process. So let's automate that solution.
Yeah, so when we're looking at it, traditionally people are talking about lots and lots and lots of components, aren't they? But with this, in theory, one-offs.
Yeah, we can do one-offs. So we can change a jaw set for literally every other component coming down that production line. So, very flexible solution.
Brilliant. And if we talk about recycle, obviously we're talking about recycling, but very similar technology to a production line. It could be apples and undersized apples, oversized apples, and I'm sure there's lots and lots of different applications.
Yeah, you're right. I used to work in logistics automation. That was a very similar thing. It's in track and trace, but instead of packages coming down, which are quite a uniform product, instead you've got conveyors of various different materials. Anything that you can think people put in the bins can come down, which is why we need a solution that can deal with the variation that comes down, but also, a robot arm that can actually interact with that product, and in that environment as well.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. I believe we've got another guest joining us on the podcast. A gentleman that's also been part of one of today's keynotes. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Just to start with, can you... Oh, there we are. Bit taller than the average man. If you can just briefly introduce yourself and also your company, what you do and where automation helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm James Hampshire. I'm from the company called Daneka. So we're a battery systems provider based in Silverstone, and we work very closely with Jerry here at Schunk to deliver automation solutions for battery manufacturing, battery recycling, alongside a company called Scientech as a little bit of a fantastic three, you could say.
Fantastic. So pick up on a couple of bits. We'll throw Jerry under the bus in a minute. But how does automation and maybe AI, if you're using that yet, how does that help Daneka in your everyday manufacturing processes?
Yeah. So we've been adopting various different manufacturing techniques and automation technologies in assembly of battery modules, and battery packs. Typically looking at like laser welding and wire bonding and stuff like that. But then on the other hand, looking at the recyclability of that. So using specialist grippers from Schunk and AI technologies that are delivered from Scientech to be able to look at a battery and say, well, this is how we would disassemble it as well.
Yeah, I think that's key, isn't it? When we talk about EV, we talk about all these batteries production. It's quite dirty. We know this at this stage. So the recycling of that's going to become more and more apparent, more and more important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are the things, looking at life cycle analysis of batteries, lots of carbon that's, created in the manufacturing of it. If we was just to sort of shred and try and segregate towards the end, we've got to have more carbon into the process to reuse that battery product. So why can't we just completely reuse? So look at automation technologies, look at the design for manufacture of the battery at the start, to be able to just take them out, no carbon addition into the process, and try and bring that life cycle analysis all the way full circle.
Yeah, so you just need a recycler to help you, don't you?
Absolutely.
I do have a question, actually, if that's allowed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Material recovery facilities, the place where all the waste goes, they've always had a big issue with batteries in the plant. I don't know if you're aware, but obviously when they go through, they're going through these big systems, getting thrown around, getting destroyed,
yep,
and then catching fire,
yep,
and then inevitably burning down the entire plant.
Yep.
Where, obviously that's a massive issue. Do you see a solution to that in the future?
So one of the solutions to that would be, designing in the reuse of the batteries in after their end of life, but then also sort of going, how do we have them make sure the batteries are discharged at the start? Because a lot of the batteries that set on fire and burn the facilities down, it's because they're going through macerators and it's because they're churning the batteries up. But how can we disassemble them and have them as cells rather than having to shred them all up and doing like the traditional waste recovery where you change it into grey matter and then use the chemicals and you get it down to a slush? Why can't we just keep them as cells? That they are created as that. They've still got life in them, otherwise they wouldn't set on fire. So he's adopting a different mindset to how we do that.
Fantastic. And we've just had Jerry on. He's been talking us through some of his wonderful products he's got at Schunk. But Daneka, valued client. It's quite apt, really, you've joined us. Talk us through some of their products and how they help you on a daily basis.
Okay, so there's a lot, and I don't know what Jerry wants me to talk about, but yeah, so we use their tool changers on the end of all of our robots. So the versatility that we have to deliver, the agileness that we have to react, we need to be able to retool our robots quickly, retool our automation. So using the SWK products that Jerry delivers, we use a lot of their magnets, so the permanent magnet solutions for picking up cells, the MGPs, the EGP grippers as well. We really use quite the broad suite of automation and material handling and gripping technologies that Schunk offers for more what were traditional applications, and then we ramshackle them together, you could say, and sit at a table with some crayons and figure out how we're going to make them work for batteries.
Fantastic. And back onto Daneka, are you going to be selling these systems, or will you just become part of the battery supply chain?
Both. So we do contract manufacture for businesses. So one of the customers we just work for is Vertical Aerospace, so the UK's first eVTOL. We designed and tested the battery system for the UK's first flying eVTOL. We made that in-house for them. We made all the packs for them, and that was a contract manufacturing task after the design. We've done contract manufacturing tasks for large OEs, out of Germany and Sweden and also in the UK. But then we're also delivering solutions to the customer, about everything being sustainable in what we do. There's a UK OE that has the cells made in Northumberland, a battery pack facility down in Sunderland, and the cars are made somewhere in the Midlands, so the batteries are going past them. So we take the manufacturing facility to you, because then you don't have to have the CO2 emissions from air travel, sea freight or road freight. So trying to, again, bring everything closed loop.
Makes a lot of sense, Jerry. Doesn't seem a bad company to be, that.
They're not bad. So we basically took Daneka and Scientech over to Germany to show our new division that we have in our headquarters, purely e-mobility, because it's a completely different industry that anyone has known before, of handling battery cells and also even EV gearboxes. So we've developed a highly, mass production grippers, where we can pick up typically 1,000 cells in one go, deliver them to the next station, and also space them out into the relevant spacings. And some weird and wonderful gripping solutions to insert shafts into motors where there is literally zero tolerance. So we've got lots and lots of specialist solutions aimed at the e-mobility market.
And I guess a question to all of you, I guess. We're here at FANUC, this wonderful facility here in the UK. Where do we see automation go? And obviously you all touch on different elements of it. Obviously you guys doing what you're doing. Jerry, you're very broad in the manufacturing space, automation space. But if we can just go one-on-one, just to conclude, if we go down the line, where do you see automation going in, say, the next 5 years?
I think we really do need to look at automation more seriously, even in the smaller shops. To be more productive. It's quite astonishing how you go into a machine shop and how many machines are sat there idle. And we can simply automate this, quite cost effective at the beginning. We can do a very simple and cheap solution, and that will actually grow with your business. So we can keep adding to that as we go on. But it's about keeping the machine spindles running. Yeah, that's the biggest limitation that I see at the moment, that if you don't have an operator, the machine doesn't run.
For sure. And
probably the main thing that comes to mind is data. Everyone's talking a lot about Industry 4.0, and using that data for a lot of preventative maintenance, making sure that your plant is running all the time, and having as little downtime as possible. Essentially making the engineer's job as easy as possible. Drones potentially as well. But yeah, probably cloud-based data, giving you feedback, and giving you a fuller depth and fuller understanding into your plant and manufacturing process.
So using hardware, software, AI, or to replace human beings, but in a good way, doing tasks that traditionally they probably wouldn't want to do, so we can upskill the workforce and put them in more senior positions.
Exactly, yeah. When you talk about putting robots in, putting automation in, yes, you're displacing the workforce, but you're not taking jobs away, you're just displacing those jobs into better roles, So yeah, that's where I see the future of automation.
Cool. And just finally, from Daneka, where do you see it going? It sounds like you're at the forefront of all this, so you could probably tell us you already know.
No, we already know. I wish you would know, because if we all knew, we'd all be millionaires by now. But yeah, so I think automation is going to change. Touching on Industry 4.0 and then efficiencies from people. Automation is going to become more accessible to people. As you can see, Rent a Robot outside by FANUC. The factory in a box offering that we have is as a service. So giving automation more of a chance, or opening it up to smaller businesses or smaller people, rather than it being traditionally this big machine line that people think it is, that costs millions and millions of pounds. We can deliver smaller, more modular automation rather than it being a line builder, you could say, or a line that stretches meters and meters. I think is where it's going to go, and an upskilled workforce. Technical courses from sort of the MTC and the MRC are all looking towards robotics now, and everything's looking towards supporting the automation change. So I think really we're going to see a change in workforce, and we're going to have an upskilled workforce and a high-paid one.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I guess what we're trying to say is hardware, software, AI, upskilling our workforce, becoming more efficient as a nation, reducing our waste, reducing the need for an operator stood at a CNC machine tool. So regardless of what the future looks like, you're going to see it all on MTDCNC, but do not go anywhere, because at 2 o'clock we're going to see Rowan, who's going to be somewhere behind us here, talking to some of FANUC's valued partners. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.